everybody. Welcome back to the Level 1 News. Today is June 22nd, and we're doing business and security news.
Big announcements from red and blue this week. We will start with blue.
Intel tries to get chip manufacturing back on track with Intel 4 due in 2023. Intel 4 outlines the details of a new process for high-performance libraries for fabrication and some cool stuff that's going on. It's like, look how tiny this is. This is going to be so amazing. The bad news is it seems like Sapphire Rapids has slipped to Q1 of 2023, which is another full quarter slip.
21.5% speed increase. That sounds good, but you know what? Maybe promises a bit more.
AMD reveals RDNA 3 chiplets, 3D V-Cache for Zen 4, and Phoenix Point laptop chips.
So they were not guaranteeing, but they were promising, how much was it? It was a lot more.
Industry-leading performance per watt, greater than 50% performance increase over RDNA 2, which is already a pretty substantial bump over RDNA 1.
I think it was they doubled that time as well, right?
Yeah.
There's the roadmap. And all this new stuff needs a new kind of foundry process. It's going to get real small. They're actually getting rid of what's the one below nanometer?
Angstroms?
Yeah. They're going to have to start moving to angstroms in the tens now that we've gone below, because as TSMC announces.
TSMC reveals its 2 nanometer node, 30% more performance by 2025. So this is the good spin on the headline is 30% more performance. The bad spin on the headline is that it doesn't look like it's going to be a lot more density. So yay, 30% more performance, maybe more power efficient, but maybe not a lot of density. So chips can't add a huge number of transistors. They have to be more efficient with the transistors they already have. Maybe.
I thought the negative spin on that was going to be no one's going to be able to get them.
Well, you know, it could be that exactly what you're saying, because there's a Chinese blockade.
The land war in Asia is happening, finally.
And if you're one of the RISC aficionados, good news, you're about to get something that's somewhat akin to a Raspberry Pi to play with.
Ubuntu is working on providing good support for the VisionFive low-cost RISC-V board. If you haven't seen the VisionFive, it's pretty neat. It's a little worse performance than a Raspberry Pi, but it's got a couple AI accelerators and some other stuff. It's neat. You can get it right now. It's just a bit less than $200. And Canonical is working on making it a little better. One of the Canonical guys, who's obviously an engineer, not a PR person, said, "That's weird. Fedora's graphics are way faster, and we're not really sure why."
You gotta love the honesty. I mean, in some ways, maybe those people should be in charge.
Yeah.
At least they're not lying.
Although, in that case, you get, like with Trump, you get something unacceptable for the normies, like, you know, an attitude that people just recoil from. You would still have that, but without any of the mistruth. It would just be hard truth. I don't know if the people could accept that at all.
You know what else the people can't accept?
Yeah, well, they're going to have to, because one after the other, these dominoes are falling.
Crypto hedge fund 3 Arrows Capital fails to meet its margin calls. So the people that lended it money, it's having trouble paying them back in the crypto winter that we're in. And oh boy, there's going to be fallout from this.
There was another one. What was the name of the other one where they said they had to tap into some other lending, but they were going to hold it solid? They said they could hold it solid to Bitcoin at like 3,500. Although you got to have balls to hold on to that for that long. Right? That's real hodl right there. And the companies that are, you know, they make their money off of these markets, again, Robinhood. Ooh, boy, I would not hold Robinhood stock right now. That sounds like a bad idea. But maybe Coinbase getting a little suspicious as well.
Coinbase lays off 18% of workforce as executives prepare for recession and, quote unquote, the crypto winter. This actually, you know, this makes me feel better about Coinbase, because we see some of the other places that do crypto stuff online, and their business model assumed insane growth. And because they're not getting that now, they literally have no money to operate. Their money to operate was your money that you deposited with them, which is not okay for anything other than crypto, because it's not regulated.
And all that unrealized gain. They're just like, we have this money. No, you don't.
No.
That's not real. It's not yours until you pull the trigger. And of course, never let a crisis go to waste. I'm so tired of this, man.
Bill Gates says that crypto and NFTs are a sham, and he's pointing at, sort of gesturing like this around everywhere, saying, here, look around. Can't you see? It's obviously a sham.
Based on his pledges that are public, is there any better person to hope dies right now?
I think there are a few.
Give me one.
Putin?
Yeah, that's number one right now.
But Putin dying probably just cycles into the next despot, right? Here
I am curious to know how that's going to play out. I hope the writers come up with a good plot line for that.
we get rid of a massive douchebag, plus the world gets flooded with charity
We're
money.
hoping for season 3 of Game of Thrones and not season 7 or whatever the last season was.
Season 8. It just sort of disappeared from the cultural discourse after that happened.
It's like, that's why he needed the sword that was made out of dragon glass. Of course.
So he could yell at the dragon in the finale. Okay.
And in the list of people who I think we could do just fine without,
Jack Dorsey's to be determined announces a Web3 competitor, Web5. We're skipping Web4, none of that. It's a Monty Python skit. At this point, we're living a Monty Python skit with all this. This is just... Why?
Every time I read anything like Web3 versus, oh no.
that's your second spill today.
It is. He spilled some on the stairs earlier.
Oh, and you've turned over the light.
Oh.
We should leave this in.
Yeah. It's not too bad.
The gap in the table is useful for saving
It saved the soundboard.
It's like the hole in your bathroom sink. Oh, you're out of... Do we have any more?
No.
At least it smells nice.
Oh, fresh rolls.
Yeah. Grant, don't cut any of this. Watch all of it.
What is happening?
Maybe this is a new kind of mukbang where you just watch people clean.
I'm pretty sure if we put that on Twitch, they'd watch it. Yay for the microphone arms too, because no mess there.
Floor is going to be sticky. We're going to mop it later.
No, there's nothing in the coffee. It's just black coffee.
Oh, it'll still get sticky.
Sugar is what makes it sticky. We're gonna have to leave some napkins there because it's
it's still a little wet.
yeah.
That's fine. It's fine.
I'm just going to assume that that's how angry you are at Jack Dorsey's Web5.
I really am, because
It's garbage, right?
We're literally living in a Monty Python skit, because why are we wasting energy on this? And I don't mean electrical energy, I mean mental energy.
So the idea here is kind of following what some of the other big tech companies are doing, is trying to pull the authentication onto your device and make it universal. So you don't store any data on, the platform, and your identity moves with you, but it's all Bitcoin. It's all based on Bitcoin. So I don't know how they're getting around the whole transaction cost and electricity cost thing, right?
It doesn't even need to be on Bitcoin. You could have a blockchain that, again, there's not monetary value in the coin itself.
I think they need Bitcoin just to get people interested.
Again, what an incredible way. I don't see the vision. What does he see?
There is no vision.
Did he come up with this when he was making fresh a goat? What's going on?
He's probably on all kinds of hallucinogens, right? Because he's rich and he's kind of a hipster.
He's a crypto bro.
Yeah.
That's so frustrating.
Hustle culture, bro.
Well, the Google ad auctions have drawn a lot of ire. That does seem like a terrible, terrible situation. They've revised it a little bit, but nothing that really changed it all that much. And now we're able to determine that when they said they were going to anonymize everything,
Google privacy lawsuit over ad bidding process to go forward. We reported on this really well a couple of months ago, where we it was like Google, it's this weird bidding process where it's not the highest bidder, it's the second highest bidder, because Google conceded there's often a lot of a gap between the highest bidder and the second highest bidder. But it almost looks like they were peeking into what those were in order to suppress ad prices for themselves. And Facebook sort of figured it out, and they sort of let Facebook in on it. And so this almost looks like fraud. But
Collusion at the least, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this washes out in the trial and like what evidence comes to light. Like, I think like the Apple Epic case, we're going to learn a lot more that we didn't know. And
Plus, they're pointing out that the anonymity is, they give you so many columns to choose from that the anonymity is just nothing. It doesn't exist. You can easily target whoever you want. And you can still target those things that are illegal to target if you really try hard
yeah,
and think outside the box. Think outside the regulations. This is a missort, but this should have been in the crypto bit. This is the other company I was trying to think of.
Celsius, crypto lender Celsius pauses withdrawals, transfers citing extreme market conditions. It looks to me like their business model was, we'll hold your crypto and make money on your crypto, and that'll be where our operational costs come from. But in this winter of our discontent, they are not able to operate.
Now, it sounds crazy, but guess what would happen if all of the banks lost 60% of withdrawals all at once?
Nothing good.
The same thing would happen. They'd stop letting you do it.
Huh.
That's actually happened before. I don't know if it's happened in the US. This is a little bit of a clickbait headline. Although when you think about it, you think about how often we decouple our streaming device from our television.
Yeah.
Now, certainly the television manufacturers want you to not do that.
Yeah.
Oh, you just need the smart TV. But if you're smart, you will do that. You will find another device. And that, Wendell, you've mentioned this before, like all of this ad tracking and the auctions and everything, the thing that is often never mentioned is that the people paying for these ads are not getting their money's worth. No. Not even close.
Ads playing on streaming services while the TV is off waste brands $1 billion per year. So if you get a TV hooked up to a streaming stick, the streaming stick doesn't actually pay attention to if the TV is on or off. Meanwhile, if you've got the smart app on the TV, it'll automatically stop when you turn the TV off. It knows. And so this is going to cause the brands in the industry to very vehemently lobby to do away with streaming sticks and only have those kinds of things built into TVs so that they are better able to monitor and control the experience. Some people just turn the TV off while it's streaming without actually stopping the stream. You know, Netflix and everything else will just happily keep on playing the next thing. If you're on something like Hulu where they have ads or HBO Plus, well, yeah, it's like, hey, you might want to watch this new show. And then if it doesn't stop, if you don't stop it from playing the next show when you get to the end of a show, it will
Autoplay.
Yeah, just keep on going. And then you see ads, and then they charge you like as if you saw it, but the TV was actually off. But it turns out that HDMI, the streaming stick, can know if the TV is off or not. That's how they know some of this. And so they just need to make the software. We don't need to do away with streaming sticks. We just need to, if that matters to advertisers, then people selling the ads can do that. But there's a disincentive for people that have streaming sticks to do that, because then their revenues go down because they get a cut.
And I wouldn't want that streaming stick.
Yeah.
I'd buy the old one.
Yeah.
And, until the video limitations force me to upgrade.
It's also not a problem on like laptops and tablets and other devices like that, because again, the application and the viewing device are coupled together.
I kind of hate this idea that seems to be becoming like more prevalent, where advertisers like they don't just want you to look at their ad, they force you to watch it.
It requires your attention. It is not merely enough that it is playing.
Well, but we've gotten so good at ignoring it.
Right.
They have to keep escalating and finding ways to make us.
I find that so offensive in every possible way.
Yeah, I would definitely contend that the advertisers are buying the right to have the opportunity for me to see their ad, not to guarantee that I will see their ad.
Oh, they don't.
Or
they
respond
don't say
to
that.
it. Like, that's the other thing, is it's like, it's not enough to just see it and look at it. You also need to respond positively to it. And it's like, no.
Well, ultimately, they would love it if they could require you to go and buy the product.
Yeah.
Remember, Microsoft has the patents on interactive ads where it's like, what did you see in the Doritos commercial? And it's like, those are really, like, you can get a lot.
That's going
of
to
money.
end up on Twitch sooner than later, you watch, because they've been really amping up the ads on Twitch.
That's going to be funny to see. We'll never get to see it, but I would love to. I wouldn't love to work at one of those places, but if you do work at one of those places, One of the fringe benefits would be able to go through the crazy answers that people give.
Yeah. It'd be nicer to have things like health insurance, but it's good to look at people's answers would be a perk.
Would you like to do a participate? Your colonoscopy, you can get $100 off if you participate in the Nike challenge, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess.
That 4chan green text.
Drink verification.
Yeah, the drink verification can. That was like just a look into our future.
You know for sure that Coke and Pepsi have both looked into the verification.
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, they're like,
they've got a
oh,
team
that was a good
working on it.
idea.
Yeah. They might have been looking at it before that.
Does all of this madness stem from corporate personhood? Is that what we need to end to stop this madness?
Well, other countries are having the same problem.
No.
So I've been reading a little bit, and this is hopeful. Well, this is hopeful if you're an ant. It's not if you're a grasshopper. And there's a lot of you out there who are grasshoppers. But if you have some money right now and you're able to hang on to it, and still feed yourself, we may be seeing a giant wave of price crashes because the inventory is back where it was, I think, in like 2001 or something like that. And it's straight up. Usually when that happens, you get a whiplash effect and it goes straight down. And then all this inventory is out there and they can't get rid of it, so they just slash prices. I'm hoping right around the fall to see that. That would be beautiful. Probably bad for the economy, but
Samsung temporarily reduces procurement amid inventory pressure. South Korean tech giant asks component makers and others to delay shipments. It's a little difficult to unpack from this article, but basically what's going on is Samsung doesn't want to buy parts, and Samsung is harassing the people to buy stuff from them to say, hey, you need to take delivery of stuff or we're not going to manufacture stuff. You told us that you're going to have a bunch of sales, then you need to get this stuff out of our warehouse or we're not going to be able to deliver your next order or your next order on time.
And suddenly no one has any money to buy anything.
Yeah.
So we had the chip shortage. They did everything they could to ramp up those supply lines. And now all of a sudden, hyperinflation, raise the rates, and everybody's just like, I don't need a new phone. Sorry.
It's like a slinky where it's just every time they think they get it, it catches up one way or the other.
And of course, if you're really good at trading the market, you can catch that wave, but that would be a difficult thing to do. Remember that time that Samsung got caught cheating on their phone benchmarks?
That doesn't sound like them.
Do you think that the whole company got a memo about that? Do you think the TV division was included in that memo?
Yeah, they got that memo, I'm sure. Samsung has been caught cheating in TV benchmarks and promises a software update. It's actually pretty genius, though. The TV doesn't really have a way of knowing what's going on, so it has to look at what you're displaying on it. And it's like, this looks like a test pattern. And so because it looks like a test pattern, the TV operates outside of its normal parameters to do with things like nits of brightness, because it looks like a test pattern in order to make it look like it better complies or performs better than it really does, which really suggests a lot. Like if they're doing that for benchmarking for people that review their displays, are they doing that also for identifying content to sell to advertisers? You really
Surely,
don't want a smart device.
If you could do one, you could certainly do the other.
Yeah.
Right?
It was a mistake putting that level of computation in televisions.
Especially any TV program that has like a lower third or something.
Yeah.
You could have a perfect identifier for every different station.
Yeah.
Well, Photoshop went to the subscription model, and I think most people hated that. And now they're going to probably something even more oppressive.
Adobe plans to make Photoshop on the web free to everyone. For now, it's testing a freemium version in Canada. It's free with basic features, but maybe you pay a few extra bucks to get a more featureful version. This will be great for Adobe because it will really suppress anybody building an Adobe suite or Photoshop competitor. Because it's like, the web version is good enough. Why would I spend time developing something else?
And they'll probably identify the features used most by the freemium people and get rid of those.
Yeah.
Over time, yeah.
And make them pay for it. After maybe you've established a business where you need that, and now it's gone.
I really would like to crop this photo for you, but I'm going to need you to watch this 30-second ad.
Oh.
Drink verification can.
I feel like there's enough alternative programs that I can't imagine that Adobe's on top anymore, but maybe they are, I guess, for corporate clients, but
Just like everyday computer users seem to still have a really hard time telling the malware from like not malware.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I need a free photo editing program. There is a non-trivial chance that they're going to download something that's going to wreck their computer.
Do you know how many App Store scams there are
Yeah.
for photo editing?
Yeah.
And my dad has every single one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And it's
exactly.
a nightmare. Yeah.
And so eventually the learned behavior is you just have to go trust Adobe. That's what they're trying to capitalize on here. And it's sad. It's really sad.
Also, I mean, we use the word Photoshop as a verb.
Yeah.
It's part
But
of
I mean,
our language.
I guess maybe because I am someone who has tried different ones, but like GIMP and Krita and
no
Procreate.
one's heard of that.
Yeah, those are all such good programs, though. They're such good alternatives. And several of them are free or very low cost, one-time cost.
I don't think, I almost said that I don't think anybody will miss this, but actually I think there's a lot of Chinese developers that will.
Yeah.
'Cause
Also,
there's-
government.
Yeah.
June 15th, the end of the Internet Explorer error is here. Oh, we should update our Death of Flash mug.
To
to
the death of Internet Explorer.
I love our Death of Flash mug. It's great.
Can the new one be urinating on the grave?
Safari raising from the grave in its place.
And when you get big tech, they're usually going up against government or tiny companies that they're trying to destroy. But here we have two titans locking horns, and it has to do with green energy, which makes it a wild debate.
Is Warren Buffett's versus Google, Facebook in the latest wind farm debate. So this is really interesting. This isn't covered a lot of places. This is from the Hindustan Times.
Small paper.
Gosh, why wouldn't they cover this in our media? Maybe because it's saying bad things about windmills?
I tried to look up what the opposition. So there were some news outlets that tried to get comments out of Google, Facebook, and Microsoft more than the Hindustan Times, I think. And in the articles that I saw, they didn't respond. They just referred people to their brief. And the brief just says, we really think Warren Buffett's venture should consider alternatives. And we're not really sure that this is in the best interest of customers for the best price on electricity. And that's all it says. So this is a wind farm that's going to have marginally more expensive electricity, according to Buffett's projections, and pay an 11-point-something% return for investors. And the chief complaint in the big providers is that electricity is going to cost slightly more. And they're trying to find ways to not directly complain that electricity is going to cost more, but really the main complaint seems to be that electricity is going to cost more.
Well, that's wild because in their press releases, all I ever hear them talk about is green energy and saving the
that's
earth.
weird.
They're not willing to pay just a little bit more in electricity.
It's almost like these companies only care about money.
But you also have to think about this from the other side because it drives me crazy how people are like, oh, these oil companies are evil. They're only after money. What do you think Warren Buffett is doing? You think he's doing this for your benefit? No, he wants to make money.
Warren Buffett sees that 11% return as we enter some sort of economic meltdown, and he's saying 11.75% return. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's great. Green energy is trying to make money. I hate to break it to you. Everybody's trying to make money. And they are also using the government to try and get a leg up on the other companies.
And 11% is a great margin. It's not like what was the last quarter? The oil industry profits were at a record, and the gross margin was more than 11%.
Well, I think that had to do with the bounce back from Coke from the thing, but
I can't say it on YouTube.
but yeah, well, there's no secret that the oil companies have been getting outsized profits for what they deliver.
We're going with the lesser of two margins. I mean, evils.
But are we though? We don't know. We're just giving the green people the benefit of the doubt,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like, well, they haven't shown us anything. I don't know. I keep seeing memos about how the lights are going off.
Listen, if that
Well, that's our current grid. That's mostly powered by coal.
green wind energy outfit can sell power to Texas somehow during the peak demand, they're going to make all that money back and more.
Yeah, that's,
Did anyone? Oh, that's a good question. So I heard that there were huge outages in like Columbus. Did anyone in our audience deal with that this last week?
that was storm related though, right?
Yeah.
Well, they said it was storm related, and then the power was out for like 3 days.
I think
'Cause
had
they
to
were load
rebuild-
shedding.
Yeah, they had to rebuild some of those lines to be able to get the. I think could have been lying about it.
And loss of water in Texas. How's that? How did that
Yeah.
go?
Is anyone in our audience in either of those areas? Have you dealt with heat wave
It's
power
almost,
outage?
It's almost like the very basics of our country are breaking down.
Yeah.
Well, you want to go to space? Unfortunately, they have chosen the worst possible way for you to go to space. This is disgusting.
MoonDAO will pick 2 of the next Blue Origin astronauts with the help of NFTs. This has got to come direct from Bezos, right? It's like, people aren't talking enough about Blue Origin. How do we get in the news? And it's like, NFTs?
I hope they get somebody. They pick somebody who's just absolutely out of their mind.
Oh yeah, like a real weirdo.
Yeah, and
Gary
they show
Busey.
up. They show up with all kinds of like, they're preaching the entire time and screaming and ripping their clothes off. And what are you gonna do?
They have a locket with Jeff Bezos' face in it.
General Motors is still facing the supply crunch, and I think it's been long enough. They said, you know what? We're gonna have to solve this problem ourselves.
GM 3D prints 60,000 parts to keep Tahoe deliveries on time. Now, obviously, it's more money to set up and 3D print parts than it is to set up a tooling line. But if you already have the 3D printers and you don't have the warehouse space to set up generic machines, then this is a reasonable stopgap. Now, these are nice metal 3D printers.
This looks 200 grand a pop, so we got about 1.5 million in 3D printers running here. They needed 60,000 of those things. It took them, I think, a month or two. It was this thing right here. That's what they needed. It's weather stripping. It's a special kind of substrate, and they say that you can use that at home, but you probably shouldn't because you'll kill yourself.
So you're saying I can't use it at home?
Well, you could.
Looks like they got some fancy fume extraction.
Yeah, those hoods that are over the top there. Critical.
Don't breathe the microplastics.
Don't breathe this.
And another week, another EV has been recalled. Wow, we are seeing this just time after time. We used to crap on Tesla, but it turns out nobody can get this right.
Ford issues stop sale of electric Mustang Mach-E crossovers due to potential safety defect. For the past 2 years, vehicles made at a certain plant in Mexico may have battery terminal overheating, which will cause the terminals to eventually catastrophically fail. The car won't catch on fire, but the batteries will no longer be connected and you will lose power. Even possibly while you're driving.
Is that just the battery melting?
Well, it's the
The
contacts. Yeah. And inflation, ooh, it's coming. And sometimes the suppliers will try to eat it for a certain amount of time. And we know that Elon Musk was smart and he bought a lot of those rare earth metals and resources and stuff. He stockpiled them. I guess he's run out.
Tesla significantly increases its electric car prices across its lineup. Remember when that one car that was like $80,000 and it was like, goodness gracious, $80,000. It's now like $129,000.
Well, that's because the subsidies are gone too. So the Y got the smallest increase, 2,500. Or I'm sorry, that's the 3. And then the Y was a little bit more, like $5,000, I think. But the S and the X were the worst. Oh yeah, 135,900.
Ooh.
Whew.
That's the plaid though. That's like the pimpest one.
Apparently, so I was talking to my younger cousin. That's why I wasn't here last week. I was taking them to a dinosaur tour. And when we were driving, of course, they like to look at cars because they're little boys. And they were super excited every time we saw a Tesla.
I can't see why, because just look at how
That was the one that they were like, a Tesla!
look how offensive.
Drive faster so we can see the Tesla! Like,
That is a disgusting car.
I don't know, kids love it.
Well, kids are stupid.
They are stupid. They can't even drive, but they're excited every time they see a car or a fire truck.
Do you think they'd be excited if they saw one burst into flames?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That would be cool. Yeah.
Well, you know what? What company is bursting into flames?
Oh, no good news here.
They had one huge miss last week. This week they had an announcement that I think could be counted as a huge miss. And they're sweeping some stuff under the rug that we all know does not belong under the rug.
Activision Blizzard clears itself of any wrongdoing. Wow, that's generous of itself, isn't it?
You're sweeping it under the rug. There's a body-shaped lump under the rug at this point.
And a fluid leaking out.
Oh. And then there's the Activision developers who are just crawling around playing night crawlers under the desks.
That's got to make people angry. They said that there were a few isolated incidents, but it wasn't the culture of that. So, I mean, that doesn't sound like no wrongdoing to me.
Yeah, so like you still had incidents. So like, what are you doing to prevent them in the future? Nothing.
And they had who were supposed to be independent, like observers, but the main guy in charge of the committee was from Activision Blizzard, which is kind of like, well.
Of course you're not going to find anything wrong. You're getting paid.
And of course, Krista, we've talked about your record of, well, it's probably not a record, but you have so many loot boxes.
I
in
do. I
Overwatch.
don't open them because I don't care.
I think we said your count was like over 1,500, right?
I think so. Last
And
time I
every
looked.
time you stream it on Twitch, people are like, open the boxes. Oh my God. Because loot boxes have a hold of people's minds.
Yeah.
So that's why it's controversial. They're saying, well, we're going to get rid of that, but they're replacing it with something that
Way
was maybe worse.
Overwatch 2 will get rid of loot boxes, and they're replacing it with a battle pass and a store.
What is going on?
And if you look at their roadmap for Overwatch 2, 90% of the new content is like new skins. So this is basically just a microtransaction farm now.
And free to play.
Yeah.
Going free to play. And didn't you say they're delaying because it was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be, so the game, when it first launched Overwatch 1, it was PvP only. For Overwatch 2, they're like, oh, we're going to do a campaign mode. It's going to be story-based PvE. Now they're saying the PvE stuff, they're just going to delay that till like end of 2023.
That's a long time for people to lose interest.
Yeah. I don't think that they're going to win anyone over with this weird
Although,
strategy.
With crushing inflation and the economy circling the toilet, free games probably are going to get a tick up, don't you think?
Yeah, I think moving it free to play is not necessarily the problem. It's more just the aggressive monetization and the fact that they're removing like 6 maps from rotation. And they're like, we're going to add 6 maps, though. And it's like, well, really, that's still the same amount of maps. And then
Well,
you're just adding like 60 skins instead.
But isn't that, I mean, when you create a new game, isn't that the idea that we should have all new maps?
Yeah.
Like,
So, yeah, they're like wanting a pat on the back for something that we've been expecting for years.
I don't know if we've seen any numbers, but my assumption is Diablo Immortal is actually making money.
Seriously?
Despite, well, I don't know. But why else would they announce this right now?
Yeah.
Well, probably because they were supposed to, but is it maybe the Chinese market for Diablo Immortal?
Well, I think in that business model, you do rely on a very tiny percentage of people to pay
whales, yeah.
overwhelming amounts. So if you could do that for Overwatch,
I think that the thing that's going to make a lot of money that, and I'm surprised Blizzard hasn't picked up on this because they're exactly the company to do this, is the whole like Dota and Squid Game crossover. It's like, oh yeah, a whole bunch of new Dota 2 players, but you're competing for grocery money this week.
and what if you had to buy a new game license every participation? Real death. That's just gambling at that point. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's what all the games are going toward, though. It's just going to be gambling for cosmetics. Like they're adding gun charms to Overwatch 2. And it's like, who cares about that?
What's a gun charm?
It's literally just like a little keychain that goes on your character's gun.
Oh, that's tactically not something you want. You don't
No,
want,
and
you don't want stuff hanging
they're
off
also
your
adding
gun.
hats.
Oh,
And
that's
it's
Team Fortress.
Team Fortress. I was like, really? What year is it?
I noticed when we were all playing PUBG the other day that some of the people, when we would pick up their weapons, it's like super customized weapon skins. And
Yeah,
just crazy
that's how they
stuff.
get money now.
Yeah.
I just want to play the game.
Well, maybe, Krista, you can play that game, and you might even be able to play it while you are sailing the high seas. Although, who would go on a cruise right now?
I don't
Seems-
ever want to go on a cruise.
Seems like a bad idea right now.
Royal Caribbean may add Elon Musk's Starlink internet service to its cruise ships. That is not what the headline should be. The headline should be Elon Musk brilliantly recruits Royal Caribbean to help him harass the FCC to certify Starlink for use on moving vehicles because, oh boy, does he have a lot of people in RVs that want to buy Starlink.
And plus, he's got the airlines now, too, fighting for him.
Yeah. The FCC has not yet certified Starlink for use in a moving vehicle because...
Well, Elon Musk, he's made some good business decisions. We can't take that away from him. He is the world's richest man. And often I think, at least I believe incorrectly, that when you get to a certain level like that, that you gain a kind of poise and maybe self-reflection and understanding. But no, he's still just a petulant little boy.
SpaceX has fired an employee who wrote an open letter complaining about Elon Musk. He criticized the letter as overreaching activism. Meanwhile, he's going to promote free speech on Twitter. What kind of clown world is this?
Yeah, this person called him an embarrassment, and it did not sit well with him. They called for him to step down because they pointed out, they had some decent points that he made the Bitcoin bet. Mm-hmm. That's not going to help anybody at Tesla,
No.
and that he is distracted with Twitter.
Mm.
Well, yeah, that's fair, and that the whole SEC thing.
Yeah.
All that hurt Tesla. Had to. SpaceX, on the other hand, killing it.
Killing it, but there's a very unpleasant, strong smell coming from his office.
From under that rug.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to security, we have some terrifying new problems with CPUs, but this is one of those things where it's like, is anybody really going to go to this trouble? I mean, probably the Chinese government, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we got a lot of other people that are going to do it.
A new vulnerability in Intel and AMD CPUs lets hackers steal encryption keys. Hertz bleed attack targets power conservation features on virtually all modern CPUs. It's actually pretty brilliant. There's some cryptographic algorithms that are designed assuming that they have constant execution time, but on modern processors that have, boost algorithms, the processor will boost its clock speed opportunistically. So it turns out that information can actually be used to steal cryptographic keys, because when the boost algorithm, or when the cryptographic algorithm is not really doing anything, you can sort of figure that out from the power side of things.
And then you can grab that key. That's bad. And this one's also bad. I got to wonder that, I guess maybe the BlackBerry engineers just don't have anything else to do.
For their 10 users.
They got plenty of time to delve into this kind of thing. But this one's also terrifying.
Symbiote, a new, nearly impossible to detect Linux threat. So this is a threat that exists mainly just in main memory. It can be used to
That photo's terrifying.
turn your server into a part of a command and control system. But it's not out to send spam or mine Bitcoin. It's part of some larger operation, and it seems to be targeting financial companies in South America.
It can maintain its presence, though, and it can deploy other malware and then hide that malware. So this is more of a foot in the door kind of thing, but it's a foot in the door. It's going to be tough to get rid of. I don't think we've seen that in the wild yet, though. And I think this is, once again, another horrifying thing that might hurt us really bad, but we haven't seen it yet.
Researchers discover a new hardware vulnerability in the Apple M1 chip. So this is actually a vulnerability in a mitigation technology that is new and unique to Apple. Apple has what they call like a pointer verification or a pointer auditing thing. It's a mechanism that adds a couple of extra bits when dealing with pointer arithmetic on the stack or anything else. So if the program has a bug such that a pointer can be exploited to read something it's not supposed to, this will catch that. However, you can create speculative execution scenarios where code is not actually executed but is speculatively executed, which will then leak what the authentication key is. So if you have a pointer vulnerability, this is just an extra step that you have to go through in order to mitigate that mitigation.
Doesn't add any vulnerabilities, but it could make you think you're safe when you're not.
Yeah. It just means that developers aren't actually going to use this hardware feature that Apple added because...
What do you think they spent on that R&D?
Somebody was real happy that they came up with that, and now it's just like, oh.
The thing that shocked me most about this story was the incredibly brilliant forethought of Madonna.
Oh yeah, genetic paparazzi are right around the corner, and courts aren't ready to confront the legal quagmire of DNA theft. So Madonna, with her concerts, she would insist that she have her own toilet seats. She would install her own, like her crew would come and install toilet seats and take them back with them when she left. And they would also have to disinfect everything. And the reason was because she didn't want her DNA stolen, because apparently you can do useful things with it.
Also, all the various leaders who have visited with Mr. Putin lately, they've all turned down the PCR test.
Yeah, it's because it would be administered as like, what are you gonna do with that? What's going on?
And also, they point out that the big table was maybe not just his request. It might have been Macron also saying he wanted that because he didn't want to get close enough for any sort of harvesting of his DNA.
Or just poisoning or anything.
There's a lot of reasons you don't want to get close to Putin, right?
Yeah.
He literally and figuratively has cooties.
We don't know that for sure.
That's slander.
And here's a story that, we've certainly covered this theme over and over and over. And obviously the rule that you should follow is there are some devices that don't need to be on the internet. This device, never any reason for it. Never.
Strange brew. Americans warned of China possibly spying through smart coffee makers. I was helping somebody install their washer and dryer last week, and because they got a new washer and dryer, and I was looking through the manual in the washer, and it had GPL license notices, and it was like, what is going on with a washing machine that it's got GPL code in it? And it turns out that it can send push notifications to your phone when it's done. It's like, no, it's good. Just beep.
Yeah.
Beeping is fine.
Or in my case, mine goes so loud that it gets picked up on my mic during the stream.
See, you've got the old
Yeah, we have
the
old
analog ones,
Yeah.
which are the superior ones by far. So we don't actually know that they're spying on our coffee makers, but it has been proven that in China, these coffee makers will report back.
Yeah.
And they found that, it was going, I don't know if they were for sure it was going to the Communist Party, but what are the odds, right? However, they do sell these here.
This researcher should look into this for televisions and things other than coffee pots, because it turns out, like, if you set up anything and you monitor all the traffic from that thing on the internet, it will surprise and shock you exactly how much traffic is exchanged with things overseas. It is bananas.
I think the argument here, though, is that we kind of expect that from our TVs. As sad as the reality as that is, we're kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe the TV's doing that. With the coffee maker?
The coffee maker, the sous vide machine, the crock pot, the slow cooker. What is going on?
Well, like a TV advertises to you directly, so it's like, oh, of course they'd be harvesting your data to advertise to you more. But like, why would your coffee maker do that?
Well, it's going to advertise to you too, Krista.
Ugh.
Yeah, well, that data, at least, if nothing else, it shows them where the penetration of their coffee makers are in that market.
Yeah.
And where to like, oh, we don't sell any coffee makers in Wyoming. Let's try to fix that.
How long until technologies like Elon Musk's Starlink, they start putting radioactive isotopes that are completely harmless to humans, but show up like a beacon on those satellites, and then they can just scan the eastern seaboard from space and say, there's the penetration of our coffee makers, because we've learned to block all that on the internet.
They would never do that.
I hate this reality that we even have to think about that.
I'm pretty sure that's in some science fiction somewhere.
We have so much incredible technology and we just use it to sell things. Isn't that sad in many ways?
Because we as a species, see, this is the part that people think that we're naturally good, but we're not.
No,
We're
not.
constantly trying to figure out how to get an advantage. That's how we're built. We're built to try to find an advantage. Yeah. Well, no, all animals are like that, but we're just really good. We're just amazing at it.
We're really good at it in a very sociopathic kind of way, on average.
But I think sociopathic is just like, that's kind of the baseline, right? We've built morals on top of it, but it's totally artificial. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that not everybody plays by the rules. And when not everybody plays by the rules, playing by the rules is stupid.
When you find out not everybody plays by the rules, people get violently angry. Maybe that's an evolved reaction.
We can't talk about that. What, are you suggesting real change?
Cut.
We want you to be really angry about Nancy Pelosi's stock trades instead. It's like, okay.
I'm angry about that too.
Yeah, there's lots of anger.
I can
go
be
around.
angry about that and my coffee maker at the
At the
same time.
yeah.
Maybe I should take out my anger at Nancy Pelosi's stock trades on my spying coffee maker.
I need to check and see how the Nancy Pelosi bot is doing, because the last time I checked, it was still up $500, even in this market.
Well, that's all we've got for business and security. See you Friday.